We are not the storm incarnates, and we will not be denied. Captain Hugandes of the Mortificators. Now, the Mortificators are an interesting chapter, because I like to use them as an argument versus nature versus nurture. Now, what makes them interesting as a chapter is that they come from Robert Gilliman, who has a history of following discipline and order completely. Gilliman is of tradition and tactics. The Mortificators don't seem to share this mindset, though, and we're going to dive into it a little bit. Why it is that they don't seem to abide by the Codex Astartes, which is the book that Robert Gilliman specifically wrote on how a chapter is to fight, how a chapter is supposed to do their strategies. And his chapter, the Ultramarines, are really strict about this. If you do not follow the Codex Astartes, they may not follow you into battle and let your ass die. So why is it that the Mortificators, the very sons of Robert Gilliman, why is it that they don't follow the Codex Astartes? Well, we're gonna get all into this. Hello guys, before the video continues, I just want to let you know that I upload almost daily. Every day, there's always gonna be a video. So, with that in mind, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and back to the lore. There's some color conflicts as to what color scheme they use, but overall it's black and bone color. So bone color would be like a really, really, really light shade of gray. So the Mortificators, as it would say in the name, they're kind of obsessed with death. But why is that? Why are they so crazy about death that they even have colors of bones as their armor? Well, they come from a world known as Posul, however fuck you pronounce that, P-O-S-U-L. Good luck pronouncing that. So, this world is a night world. This is really common in the Imperium where they have night worlds. Conrad Kurz, a Primarch, was even born on a night world. So, with this night world, it is too far away from the sun to receive sunlight. It's really mountainous and really desolate of life. All that is there is tribalistic humans who are carnivorous and eat each other. Now, this world is a recruiting world of the Mortificators. They even have a fortress monastery floating above it in orbit. But what makes this interesting is that this is one of those cases where it's nature versus nurture. Naturally, they got sticks up their asses because they are sons of Robert Gilliman. So, the gene seed does make them very hard on discipline, very hard on tradition. But the nurture aspect is different. They're recruiting from a world that is very strict to different, I would say, traditions. They don't believe in using the same tactics over and over and over again. So when it comes to the Codex Astartes, they look to it for guidance, but they don't base their strategies on it. They like to read it every now and then, but they think that it's too dangerous to use old tactics. They like to change it up a little bit. This is where you see why the Ultramarines really hate fighting with the Mortificators. They acknowledge the Mortificators as sons of Gilliman, but they fucking hate them because they're so weird and so different. It's actually really interesting is that on this planet, Posul, I'm going to pronounce it two ways all the time, is that people there are rather hopeless. They're used to this dark, depressing place, devoid of entertainment, devoid of happiness. And the Space Marines reflect this. These Space Marines are never happy. There are no ornaments anywhere in their chapter. There is no shiny colors, nothing. In fact, when you're inside their fortress monastery, you would think it would feel nice and homey, nice and light. No. It's actually like a floating tomb. There are bones layering the walls of enemies and of other Space Marines. Some of the bones are actually Imperial Guardsmen too, which I find interesting. Because these people find death very honorable. Because when you die, you join the Emperor as the ultimate warrior, as they believe. Which has earned the Inquisition some scrutiny, because they do not believe that the Emperor becomes the ultimate warrior when you die. But the Mortificators do, and they are given this free reign to believe it because their chaplains, who are like their priests, are recruited from the priests of these tribals that they recruit from. Now, what makes them very interesting is that these neophytes that they recruit are very skilled warriors, but they're also cannibalistic, and they have dark outlooks on life. They're very morbid. So when it comes to battle, they don't actually have a problem sacrificing themselves. But what makes them interesting is that after a battle, they will start to roam the battlefield and pick up corpses. Now, this has earned them a little bit of curiosity, and also a little bit of disgust from the Ultramarines. On one hand, they're picking up the dead, so that way the enemy doesn't eat them. But on the flip side, the Mortificators are eating them. Now, this could be a tactical advantage, because after all, a lot of Space Marine chapters do eat the dead, because they do have an organ that allows them to synthesize more or less memories from eating someone, so they can get tactical glimpses into this digestion of sweet pork. But when it comes to the Mortificators, they like to take the bodies and put them inside their fortress monastery. It's kind of funny, actually, is that one time 2 Ultramarine representatives came to the chapter, and as an honor for having the presence of their forefathers in their chapter monastery, they had their morticians size up the Ultramarines, so that way they could get a casket ready for them. Now, of course, the Ultramarines took this as an insult, but this was deemed a high honor, very high honor. So these people are obsessed with death. These people are very interesting, because by their gene seed, they aren't supposed to be like this. They aren't supposed to be obsessed with death to this extent, but they are. They're obsessed with it. They love it. They want everyone to experience it. They want everyone to look at death the same way they do. But the interesting thing with them is that despite the fact that they have such a weird outlook on life, they actually try their best to work with the Ultramarines, even though the Ultramarines want nothing to do with them. Now, as far as like, how do I put this? As far as like fighting goes, Mortificators do believe in the rigid adherence to a dogma, but they believe that if you're too strict, then that's weakness of the mind. Which is very weird considering that, you know, they have Robert Gilliman as their Primarch. It's just a fascinating chapter to talk about, and I wish we saw more of them. All we know, though, is that they have participated in the War for Armageddon, the third one specifically. Because what happened was they were doing their Feast of the Emperor, where they go into a 7-day trance. So for 7 days, they're sitting there in a near-death meditation. And all of a sudden, all 1,000 of them had a vision. This was going to be the last battle, the final battle of humanity. So, they took up all 10 companies, all 1,000 Space Marines left. And when they came back, well, they started to rebuild their chapter again, because they were low on numbers. But when they came to Armageddon, they fought viciously. It's just interesting that this chapter condones a lot of traditions that are usually about trances and meditations and church hymns. But they also partake in a lot of blood. They like to eat the enemies, and they like to drink each other's blood, which is very, I would say, heretical, very traitorous, but it's weird. Because they're not the only chapter that does this, but it's just that it's the more pronounced because they're Robert Gilliman's lot that they do this. Of course, they are populated by a bunch of cannibalistic feral tribes who are just savages by every fucking way of the word. But I just still find them interesting because the Inquisition and the Ecclesiarchy don't like this chapter. The Ultramarines don't like this chapter. A lot of people don't like this chapter, but I don't know why. Like, they're really interesting just because of their way of life, the way that they view things. Hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing me talk about them. hear me talk about how these guys are obscenely obsessed with death. And their fortress monastery, by the way, his name is the Basilica Mortis. Now, there is some canon conflicts with these guys. Not just the color scheme, but also about their homeworld. Because supposedly they went out to help the Ultramarines in the most recent battle against a Splinter Hive fleet. But a year before that, a Hive fleet came to their homeworld and destroyed it. If that's the case, I don't know how the fuck they were able to muster the forces, especially at full strength, to help the Ultramarines in the next battle. So there is some canon conflicts. They're very lesser known chapter, but we would just love to see more of them, just because they're so weird. Like, they don't recruit normal people, they recruit people from their world specifically. So without their world, what kind of chapter would they become? What kind of people and traditions would they adopt? That is a more interesting question, because any chapter that has a homeworld usually starts to change according to the people that they are including in their ranks. Usually, if you're a chapter that doesn't have a homeworld, you don't have this problem, because you induct people randomly, and these people are all unique. They have their own traditions, but those traditions get forgotten and replaced with the chapter's traditions. The Mortificators don't do that. They recruit from their world and only their world. So therefore, they have 1,000 Space Marines, each from the same planet, each from the same beliefs. So the original beliefs of the chapter are no longer existent. The Ultramarine way of life is not in this chapter. The only thing that's in this life is that strong use of oaths and allegiances. But that's it. There is no, abide by the Codex Astartes 100%, or else you're a heretic. There is no abiding by that. It's really fascinating to look at this chapter. This is more or less my topic of nature versus nurture, culture versus genetic predisposition. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Alright, Freezer700 here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, buddies, because pretty soon we're going to hit 100 subscribers. We're doing really great right now. I'm really proud of all of you. I am so thankful for all your support. But just hit that comment, hit that like, hit the subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends about me. Now, if there's anything you think I should improve, or something that you want me to cover, let me know down in the comment section below and I'll get right back to you. I will always reply to it. Besides that, have a great day and enjoy my channel for whatever content you think is great.